Comcast's first quarter earnings for 2018 got a big boost from a pair of high-profile TV events. The media conglomerate saw its revenue increase 10.7% to $22.79 billion and posted earnings per share (EPS) of 62 cents, topping Wall Street forecasts of $22.75 billion and an EPS of 59 cents, per a Yahoo Finance-compiled consensus. Comcast also announced Wednesday morning its $31 billion offer to acquire Sky. The 2018 PyeongChang Winter Olympics and Super Bowl 52 added incremental revenue of $1.6 billion to Comcast's TV businesses. The Olympics accounted for $1.15 billion, while the Super Bowl brought in another $423 million in revenue. Total revenue at NBC Universal increased 21.3% to $9.53 billion, the company reported. Also read, Comcast makes $31 billion cash offer for Sky. Comcast's cable networks saw a 21% increase in revenue, primarily due to increases in distribution and advertising revenue from the Olympics. Without the $378 million revenue from the Games, cable networks revenue increased 6.6%. At NBC, broadcast revenue jumped 58.3%, including an 84.9% spike in advertising revenue. The Winter Olympics added an additional $770 million in revenue, with another $423 million coming from Super Bowl 52. Excluding those two figures, NBC's broadcast TV revenue increased 4.3%. Comcast's cable communications arm grew 3.6%, driven primarily by increases in high-speed internet and business services, which help offset decreases in video and voice revenue. Comcast shed 96,000 residential video customers for the quarter. Also read, Leslie Jones, Colin Yost to star in Baby Nurse. For Universal Filmed Entertainment, revenue as the company decreased 16.3%, largely due to a 35% decline at the box office. Comcast blamed fewer movies this quarter compared to last year, along with underperformance from films including Pacific Rim Uprising and 50 Shades Freed. Theme park revenue increased 14.5% due to higher per capita spending, which benefited from the timing of the spring holidays. Comcast also attributed the increase to strong performances from the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in Hollywood, Minion Park in Japan and Volcano Bay in Orlando. Comcast NBC Universal is off to a great start in 2018 with over 10% revenue growth in the first quarter. At Cable Communications, our steady increase in customer relationships continued, balanced with solid growth in EBITDA, reflecting momentum in our high-speed internet and business services segments, said Comcast Chairman and CEO, Brian L. Roberts, in a statement accompanying the earnings release. Also read, NBC Universal to cut number of commercials across all networks by 20%. NBC Universal delivered double-digit EBITDA growth, fueled by impressive results at our theme parks, as well as our TV businesses' successful broadcasts of the NFL Super Bowl 52 and the 2018 PyeongChang Winter Olympics, he continued. The Olympics were an incredible event that showcased our capabilities and collaboration throughout the company. NBCU's amazing presentation was the most comprehensive in Winter Games history, with over 2,400 hours of coverage across broadcast, cable networks and digital, and cable's best-in-class technology delivered an unparalleled viewing experience, resulting in 26% higher ratings among our X1 customers than the national average. I'm proud of our teams across Comcast NBC Universal and believe we are well positioned for the future, Roberts concluded. Comcast executives will host a conference call at 8:30 a.m. ET to discuss the quarter in greater detail. The broadcasters of the Olympics opening ceremonies tend to wax poetic about the majesty and unity of the event, showcasing a glitzy, often overproduced pageant. But sometimes those broadcasters aren't exaggerating at all, and the best of the best opening ceremonies are a stunning showcase of national culture and pride. This year's Winter Olympics in PyeongChang, South Korea, had a high bar to match some of these stunners, ranked by TheWrap from great to best. Getty Images 10. 2014 Sochi, Russia's take on the opening ceremony was elegant and graceful, if slightly underwhelming. A little girl floats through the stadium chasing a kite, and a ballet of Swan Lake gives way to the Olympic symbol of the Dove of Peace. There was a technical error at 1.5 snowflakes were meant to grow into the Olympic rings, but only 4 expanded. Getty Images 9. 2010 Vancouver's opening ceremony was perfectly Canadian and tasteful, transforming the stage into a massive ocean of cracking ice caps and graceful whales. It also featured a performance from a fiddler and Katie Lang singing Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah, which got the audience swooning, if not with their jaws on the floor. Getty Images 8. 2012 London director Danny Boyle played up Britain's star power for the London Games opening ceremony, staging an elaborate opera of sorts in which Kenneth Branagh proclaimed the birth of a new British village. From there, the humble pastures of green gave way to the Industrial Revolution and a bunch of Oliver Twist orphans in beds parading around stage underneath a giant puppet Lord Voldemort that looked like something out of Pink Floyd's The Wall. Mr. Bean showed up at one point, too. Weirdest of all, though, was a filmed sketch in which James Bond, played by Daniel Craig, escorted the Queen, yes, the real Elizabeth II and her corgis, to the ceremony and followed her as she leapt out of a helicopter. Clearly the helicopter stunt was performed by a stunt person. Getty Images 7. 2006 Torino. Only Italy could go from an homage to the Renaissance in Dante to a red Ferrari rally car wildly spinning out on stage. So yeah, it was kind of a mess. But this opening ceremony earns points for featuring the final public performance from the tenor Luciano Pavarotti, who sang the aria Nessun Dorma magnificently shortly before his death. Getty Images 6. 2002 Salt Lake City. This was a more mournful opening ceremony than usual, as it took place in America just months after the 9/11 terror attacks. An American flag flown at the World Trade Center was salvaged from Ground Zero and carried through the stadium during a moment of silence. John Williams composed music for the occasion, dancers performed on ice skates center stage, and Leanne Rimes sang "Light the Fire" within. Getty Images 5. 2000 Sydney, Australia kicked off the new millennium right with their impressive opening ceremony. A massive, elaborate stage with rising arms and shifting platforms called A New Era and Eternity was the headliner of the evening. But the real showstopper was a bizarre, levitating UFO of a stage that took flight after Australian sprinter Cathy Freeman used the torch to light a ring of fire in a cauldron filled with water, which then poured out in a glorious waterfall. Getty Images 4. 2016 Rio de Janeiro. Directed by Fernando Meirelles, City of God, the 2016 opening ceremony operated on a lower budget but dazzled with an acrobatic light show that charted the history of Brazil and the changing landscape of the country's rainforests. It used parkour and a touching return for Gisele Bündchen to the catwalk to make a plea for the world to address climate change. But mostly everyone just remembers it for that shirtless, oiled-up Tongan flag bearer. Getty Images 3. 2004 Athens. The Athens opening ceremony in 2004 was historic for two reasons. It was a return to the birthplace of the Olympics in its ancient tradition. But more importantly for the viewers at home, it was the first series of games broadcast in HD. So yeah, if you were lucky enough to watch it in pristine high definition before anyone else, it looked pretty majestic. This opening ceremony also set the stage for future broadcasts, with a luminous, iridescent stadium floor and advanced lighting technology that future ceremonies have tried to emulate ever since. Getty Images 2. 2018 PyeongChang. There was so much behind-the-scenes news and drama that took center stage ahead of the 2018 Olympics in PyeongChang. North and South Korea would appear united during the games, with the two countries marching in under the same flag and running up a massive staircase to light the torch. Kim Jong-un's sister made an appearance with world leaders, and Mike Pence left early. The shirtless Tongan was back and braved frigid temperatures. Hackers even targeted the event. And yet somehow the opening ceremony found a way to squeeze Gangnam Style and Imagine into the same broadcast. They found a new way to do a dazzling light show by incorporating a record number of flying drones into a constellation dome pattern and into soaring snowboarders. And perhaps most crucially of all, because Americans saw it pre-taped, it was short. Getty Images 1. 2008 Beijing. Nothing will top this grand display of a country declaring its place in the world. Zhang Yimou organized exactly 2008 unpaid drummers pounding on illuminating displays in what must have been a years-long, meticulous work of art. The initial countdown was a marvelous technical display, but the real spellbinding sight was once they turned the lights on, showing viewers the scope of the perfectly uniform faces and bodies that seemed to embody an entire populace. And that was just the first 10 minutes. Getty Images. The broadcasters of the Olympics opening ceremonies tend to wax poetic about the majesty and unity of the event, showcasing a glitzy, often overproduced pageant. Sometimes those broadcasters aren't exaggerating at all, and the best of the best opening ceremonies are a stunning showcase of national culture and pride. This year's Winter Olympics in PyeongChang, South Korea, had a high bar to match some of these stunners, ranked by TheRap from great to best.